Alrighty, folks. About 10 days ago in our daily financial news, I asked you to vote for Dion. Apparently, there was a survey that went out from Bigger Pockets asking who should keynote BPCon. There were lots of great choices, many of them friends of this channel, but I asked you to vote for Dion, and you guys came through. Dion is going to keynote day 3 BPCon in Vegas. I'm so happy. I'm so proud. Dion, congratulations.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate the votes. It's surreal to me. So in the previous video, we talked about some things in your life that could have went different and you'd probably still be working, right? If you didn't start the book, make the podcast. When I first owned a rental, right, I moved from my house into an apartment to rent the house out. Lender said, this is how you get around a bad debt to income ratio. And I've messed up so bad that first year. I did the math, I think years later, I lost about $6,000. That was my overall, not using depreciation. I mean, I lost $6,000. Yeah. Rented to a friend because who can trust a stranger? Didn't use a lease because who would have a contract between friends? When he was, he's a single parent. I was a single parent. So I identified with, okay, well, rent's late. Late became never. Then when I went to the house to talk to him, he didn't even live there.
He moved out.
He moved out and rented the house to someone else and was collecting rent. Which then turned into an eviction with that person because they didn't have a contract with me. They had a contract with him. And so I'm on track to work until I'm in my 70s. Yeah. I tried to give the house away. I didn't understand what subject 2 was, but I got a hold of an agent and said, look, can you find somebody who will just take it over? I don't want a penny. Whatever money you make, you can. But I was underwater because the housing crash had happened. I think at the time I owed $138,000 and it was worth about 100 or 90. I couldn't even do a wrap, there was no way to get rid of it. I was stuck with it. And I realized that the problem wasn't being a landlord or owning a rental. The problem was that I was an uneducated idiot that was trying to replace my income with an asset class that I did no education in. Like, it took 6 months to become a police officer, 13 weeks to become a Marine. Training was ongoing. Like all these things, if you want a degree, it's years in college. And I'm just going to own rentals and just do it. So at the time, YouTube University hadn't really grown. 2010 and 11, it was cat dancing and TikTok dancing type stuff back then. But I found BiggerPockets, and this has a B in it, not a V in it. Michael Zuber and other writers were doing blogs for BiggerPockets.
Yep.
And guys like you were talking about house hacking and small multifamily and house with ADU and things that I learning a little bit about FHA and conventional, realizing FHA was not the way to go. And so in the next couple of years, I became a junkie of reading online. And then in 2018, I find one rental at a time in the community and your book and all of that. And I realized I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. I didn't have to make this up as I go. I didn't have to try to figure it out myself. I had to go, okay, well, how do you screen a tenant? Well, there's a bunch of information on how to screen a tenant. Where do I get my lease? Oh, well, there's a bunch of write-ups on how to find a lease. So I go from, I'm trying to give away the one shot I had at owning a rental because I was in bad debt I didn't know about till the divorce, wasn't making a lot of money. This was like the one shot I had. I couldn't even give it away to absolutely working until I'm in my 70s because my Marine Corps pension didn't work out. Law enforcement pension didn't work out. I was going to be a Social Security that ended up having to have my kids take care of me, which would suck because I saw how that went with pets, right? I got on the path of BiggerPockets education where people like you were contributing. And I learned just the basics. It's not like you need a PhD in this. You just have to go, okay, what is logical? What is fair for the tenant? What is fair for me? How do I stick to this? How do I learn these skills? Multiple quotes from contractors. How do you find contractors? What upgrades to a rental will actually get you more rent? One, just take money from you. Turn that into 12 years of investing, retire at 52, never have to work again, hundreds of thousands in cash flow every month from every year. Sorry, correct that. Every year from a small portfolio that I can self-manage, time freedom to do whatever I want. So that's kind of the opening speech. Yeah. At BiggerPockets, I've got 3 things that I'm covering that we've covered with them that I'm going to go over at the event. but that's how it's surreal. I was,
You know what? You know what's important to me is I think I made this call probably 6 or 9 months ago. It felt to me that BiggerPockets made a hard pivot.
Mhm.
And I actually talked to this Scott Trench, right? Did I had that right? Scott Trench. I've
Yep.
talked to him a couple of times with videos on my channel. So shout out Scott. But I think BP made a conscious choice to kind of distance themselves from the lightning in a bottle, the 1,000 units in 3 days, blah, blah, blah stories, to one of more practicality. And I actually told Scott this. I congratulated him. I said I thought it was the right move. And I even went as far as to say it felt to me that BP was going back to their roots, which I think is a great thing. Because again, I was a BP junkie and, ultimately promoted by Josh Dorkin to be a featured blog writer, which meant I had to produce once a week for BiggerPockets. And it was just a bunch of folks going in the same direction, not thinking we had all the answers, but just sharing what we had and admitting what we didn't, which was really cool. And I think it's amazing because BiggerPockets could have had nearly anybody. Keynote day 3,
Of course.
It's got to be that presentation that keeps people around. You don't want people to leave early. It's that and the opening presentation are the two most critical presentations of an event like that. You've got to get the bookends right, and to have them, listen to their audience, because it was a vote. I'm going to assume it was a legit vote, which you crushed. I think it says a lot. So I want to shout out Scott and team for the foresight, the insight to really go back to basics and really help mom and pop investors. Yes, there will be people like Pace Morby that become a billionaire because of real estate. But that's not most of us. Most of us just want to get to enough. And your story, your small portfolio, your methodical approach, your binder strategy, your rule of 19, all of these things that you share freely absolutely deserve the keynote presentation day 3. And I look forward to being there and watching it firsthand.
So there's a theory. It's called the 1980s McDonald's theory. So in the early 1980s, McDonald's said, we have hamburgers and French fries. That's great. Here's a chicken sandwich. Here's a chicken club sandwich. Here's a salad. Here's all of these things. And they started to tank.
Yeah,
I
remember.
They were so diversified, they couldn't make any money. So they came up with a jingle, literally a song in the 80s. And they got back to the Big Mac. And every ad was now even though they had the other things on the menu, they were Big Mac. The Big Mac was it. And it was this song to make it. Burger King copied them with their jingle on the Whopper.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think BiggerPockets started and grew on the fundamentals of the average person making work optional. And then they realized, wow, videos get a lot of views if we have, and he's a really close friend of mine, Cody Davis, come on. And they go, before he could buy a beer, he could have 30 rentals. And then this is how big he got. Even Cody had realized he needs to right size because that's what's best for him. Well, BiggerPockets grew in so many syndications and mobile home parks and be a lender and all of these things. I like I said, I started this video with, I'm a fan of BiggerPockets. I'm financially free because of BiggerPockets. They realized they had the McDonald's issue and they had to go back to there. And I'm the Big Mac of real estate. Super boring, not exciting. It takes at least a decade. Understanding what is enough is the thing that gets most people. And then, it's a little self-deprecating, but there's nothing special, like not smart, not super educated, not a really hard worker. Just here's the focus it took for 10 years using some fundamentals. And so I'm excited that's out there because there are people who will go and become the next Pace Morby.
Oh, absolutely. Well, again, I think Matt would share this as well. When I got started, my whole thing was just get to 4. That was as big as my vision was.
Mm-hmm.
I got to 4 and then it was, might as well do that again. I got to 5. It wasn't, and I've admitted this is a weakness of mine. I don't have these, like, I got to have 100 or 200. I never thought about that. It was always the next one.
Yep.
And, I think there's a lot of power and frankly, freedom in that. I think it is really easy to declare I'm going to have 1,000 units, and then you just don't go anywhere. Because I mean, how do you move the needle on 1,000? It's crazy, Matt.
I mean, you also need, you need the market to cooperate.
Sure.
Right. Like you can want 100 units in 2008 and you're not going to get them unless you get a ton of cash and you have a ton of bank references and everything else. You're not going to get that. So it takes a number of things. It takes a market with a certain dynamic to it. It takes you with the level of education that you have at that time to be able to do that sort of stuff. So I love that BiggerPockets came back to the core. They came back to the core. This is what made us successful. And quite frankly, guys, that's who needs you most. Who needs you most is that beginner. That's who needs you most. Like very few people are going to go from 250 to 500 and credit BiggerPockets.
Yes.
They're going to go from 0 to whatever number and credit BiggerPockets with the foundational things that they needed to get on the right track. And then, guys like us offer things around that, right? We offer training around those other kind of peripheral things that help you get better and help you become elite at those other items so you can actually have a fully functioning business. But I think that, it's almost become like too big is too noisy. And so now a lot of the guys that are hugely successful get a lot less play because they're too noisy.
Well, you know what else I think is happening? And I say this with some backroom knowledge. There's a lot of people who appeared to be wildly successful, but as the tide is going out, they are swimming naked.
You're naked.
Naked, boy. So again, this is why I think it's really smart to kind of get back to the basics, retire, financial freedom on 15 units, financial free, Casey brick by brick, financial freedom on 9 units. There's just so much free. Because the other thing that's powerful about, let's call it sub 20 is I haven't met anybody that doesn't think they could do that over a decade. That's just awesome.
Even one of the hosts of BiggerPockets that was swapped out, Ro Built, who I watch his content. I like what he did. He's even going, I'm getting out of Airbnb.
Yes.
And to sum up in my version of what I got out of his videos is more work than he thought it would ever be. And really subject to market trends.
Yep.
Versus right sizing his portfolio. So, I mean, across the board, we're seeing people, there are ways to grow a massive portfolio and make it a nice job to do that. It is possible for the average person to make work optional in about 10 years, even if you're not starting in the best position. And then you can still decide, okay, now I'm going to chase all the bigger, better, or I'm going to go scuba dive and travel and try to help other people get to the same position.
All right. Now we're going to find out from the One Rental at a Time community who's going to be at BPCon 2025 to support Dion. Let us know in the comments below if you plan to go. Matt, are you going to fly out and make it for BPCon to see Dion?
Wouldn't miss it. Front row. I'll be his security. Happy to do it.
I will be there as well. I never thought I would go to another BPCon, but if Dion's talking, I will be there. I was at the very first one in Denver, but I will be at this one as well.
I don't know what to say to the support. That's really cool. Like, Matt, have you gone to a BPCon before? That's your first one.
My first one. That's it.
That's huge.
That's the only reason I'm going. So you better not suck.
I'm not used to taking.
You better not suck.
Better not suck, right? Yeah, exactly.
I can pick up the phone. I can call you anytime I want, or I can send text messages anytime I want. So it better be like really worth going.
It's funny that you said it exactly like that. In the police academy here in Washington State, there's a plaque on the wall from McNeely and Tumwater, and it says in quotes, "Try not to suck," because that's what I used to say to everybody before they went for a mock scene test, and it became a meme there. So I'm going to try not to suck for you, Matt. That'd be great. If somebody is going right now, they have an early bird special, so you get a discount on your ticket. And if you use the code Dion50, just one word, Dion50, you get another $50 off of the early bird special. So if somebody wants to come, now nobody at BiggerPockets is going to watch this far into one of our videos, but if somebody's coming and they're not going to BPCon at the Caesar's Palace, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lobby con that doesn't have a ticket price. It took a second to put that together.
Yes. All righty, folks. So let us know in the comments if you're coming. Maybe we'll do a one rental at a time, lunch or dinner or something. Maybe it'll be because I think Dion's talking day 1 and day 3. So maybe we'll do something day 2, pizza or something. We'll see how many people are coming or plan to come. We'll put something together. Guys, you're amazing. Thank you so much. And congratulations. Well deserved. I could not imagine anybody better closing out day 3. Dion, you're the man.